Taoiseach, I don't know, and maybe you don't want to answer this, maybe you do. If you do the shopping in your house, if you go to the grocery and fill the trolley with all the food that's required for the week, and if you do, have you noticed how steep the prices have risen for ordinary grocery products in the last year? They say there's no inflation in 2024, at least it's dropping severely, but actually the price of basic foodstuffs is still rising. And as of April 2024, the cost of potatoes increased by 17.3%, rice by 10.6%, olive oil by 23.5%, frozen vegetables by 10.7%. And that list of goodies really equals what a normal, average and low-paid household would basically shop on. Your basic foodstuffs, none of your caviar or your fresh crab meat, just ordinary foodstuffs that families depend on. And if you haven't noticed, I certainly have, because every time I go shopping, I look for the receipt to compare prices over a period of time. Because I know from talking to neighbours and people in my area, the cost of foodstuffs is crippling them. And the Bernardo's survey that was published has backed that up absolutely clearly. More than 1 in 4 parents don't have enough food to feed their children at some point in the last year. And that's up by 1 in 5 from 2022. 1 in 5 say they're regularly unable to afford a main meal, a main dinner for their family and children, and almost half of parents said that they worry about having enough food for their children. What a disgraceful statistic in one of the richest countries in the world. And why is it happening? Well, it's happening for a number of reasons. One is that when inflation over the last 3 years has been at 20%, and particularly on foodstuffs still rising, incomes have not risen to that degree, not near it. 7% on average for whether you're working or whether you're on social protection. 7%, 20%, that's a real pay cut, a real income cut of 13% for ordinary households who spend more of their income on average than the likes of you and me do, because we have a much higher income than them. And the other issue is profits. Profits are soaring. An ECB report on this issue said that profit margin increases contributed hugely to the cost of living increases. And if you look at the profits, Tesco's, a shop well known for its inflated prices on ordinary grocery stuffs, their operating profits were 120 plus million for 2023. SuperValu saw an increase of 4.7 billion during 2022. And Musgrave's profit margins increase. And then, of course, we have the banks, with AIB having an exceptional profit margin of 2 billion. ESB's profits rose for 8.6 million.
Deputy.
I can't square that circle. I'm against capitalism. I'm an anti-capitalist. I'm for a more egalitarian system. You're pro-capitalist. You eulogise it all the time. Now, can you square that circle for me, please?
Taoiseach to respond.
First of all, I don't eulogise capitalism. And you said you're for a different system, but I think you probably should be a bit more transparent. I think you believe in a socialist 100% economy model, which I don't think would have created the full employment that we have in this country today. And I think your approach to multinational companies, yesterday you said we should boycott Intel, Hewlett Packard, and by implication Intel as well, in terms of the comments that you made. And there are thousands of people working in those companies in this country. And they need to be working to meet cost of living issues and to provide for their families. And I would respectfully suggest to the Chair that the economic model that you present is one that would undermine the capacity of many families in this country to provide for their children and their families, because I think it would suck investment out of the country and wouldn't enable us to have the reserves that we have to distribute funding to those who most need it. And, you know, in our household, I do a bit of the shopping, don't do the full shopping, because I have my own sort of, I go once a week to the market and I'll get the porridge and I'll get the fruit and so on like that. And the costs have increased. And my tastes aren't everybody's tastes, by the way. But that said, but the point I would make is the costs have increased, but we have, through the budget, worked very hard to try and deal with the cost of living, because there was a big inflation increase in the last 2 years, starting with the war in Ukraine and the rebound from COVID, and that did hit people, and it has hit people hard. Energy prices went up significantly. Food prices went up significantly. So we're very conscious of that. And that is why Budget 24 provided a €12 increase in weekly social welfare pension rates. There was increased thresholds for the working family payment so that more families could qualify. Extension of child benefit to 18 years old in full-time education. The free book scheme for junior cycle students. We now have free book schemes for all primary kids and up to junior certificate, and hope to extend that. The hot school meals initiative as well, which has been very extensively expanded. The extension of the fee reduction of school transport services for a further year. €1,000 reduction in fees and increased grants for third level students. The fees waived for students sitting state exams, and so on. There was a further 25% reduction in childcare costs. Over half the population are now entitled to free GP care. We abolished hospital inpatient charges and the other charges also, and reduced the threshold in respect of the drug payments scheme. And we brought in a rent tax credit. So there has been, I think, an unprecedented number of measures taken to try and ease the undoubted increase in costs that people have experienced. And the Bernardus report, I think, does indicate that there was the Silk data of 2003 showed an overall decrease in consistent poverty from 4.9% in Silk 22 to 3.6% in Silk 2023. We need to do more.
Deliberately on the cost of groceries, because that is my argument. Food inflation is crippling people, and the Bernardo's report shows that Social Justice Ireland have shown that more than 500,000 people in this country are living in poverty, of which 180,000 are children. And I'm asking you, what are you going to do about the rising cost of food? You can go shopping in some market and buy your porridge and fruit, but most people do rely on the Tesco's and the Aldi's and the Lidl's, where food inflation is still rising, and there's no sign of it stopping. Now, we introduced a bill to introduce price controls on both energy on one bill and introduce price controls on food. Now, that will not see the light of day because of the ethos of the government, who will not interfere with a market when profits are going through the roof and poverty levels are increasing and the divide in this society is increasing, the 1% of the top getting much, much richer. For example, the CEO of Tesco, the Irish CEO, a man called Murphy, his earnings last year were 417 times the average Tesco workers at 1.9 million. That is the sort of country we live in, and that is the sort of country when parents let their kids go to bed hungry, the sort of country that they're facing. What are you going to do about addressing that problem?
You're not the only one that goes to the various shops that you talk about. And don't create the impression that you're the only person that goes to Tesco in this house. I've been in Tesco. I've been in Super Value. Right? But I also... No, but you made a snide comment through the chair. And I'm just saying to you, every deputy in this house, you don't have a monopoly on these things, deputy. That's the only point I'm making. And I go to a local market. Why? Because I thought you'd be agreeable that we should look after local producers. So the local person who produces the eggs in Ballycotton, I have no problem in buying the eggs from that person to support local people on the ground in our communities who are doing an extra bit of work and so on like that, and keep the local economy working as best we can. But the point I would make is this: that I've acknowledged the increase in the cost of food prices as well as energy. And that is why we did some unprecedented stuff in respect of trying to give people money back to try and deal with the undoubted increase in cost of living. It has increased. And that's why the 400 lump sum once-off payments were made in the working family payment to about 45,000 families with 97,000 children. 409,000 households got €300 fuel allowance lump sum. 100 per child lump sum to families in respect of 370,000 qualified children. Double child benefit payment for 1.2 million children. And I think we should acknowledge that, Deputy. The government did respond.
Thank you.